Hey, so I wanted to do a quick video because I have done some research on this whole whistleblower, former Vodafone boss that's come out to say that 5G and coronavirus are absolutely linked. And YouTube is trying to remove all traces of this video from their site. They're basically trying to get it taken down from everywhere. And this is basically just making me question it even more, because I think for the government to come out and say you have to accept the official version of this makes me think that they're definitely hiding something. They're lying. Okay, but I'm not going to come out and say 5G is definitely the cause. What I'm going to do is share my research based on the video that this guy did. I didn't do research into like the whole science of radio technology and radar waves and how it affects the human body, because I just didn't really know where to start with any of that. But he did make some interesting points that I could definitely corroborate if it was true. So that's what I've attempted to do, and I'm here to share my findings with you. So what he basically has said is that there were other pandemics that have happened in the last 120 years. He mentions 3 pandemics that have happened in the last 120 years that he can directly link with technology being rolled out at those times. And he's basically saying that this is the cause of those pandemics, and insinuating then that 5G is obviously the cause of this one. So I thought, okay, well, this is definitely something that I can find historical records for this. So let's have a look. So the first one he said was the Spanish flu pandemic in 1918. It started in January 1918 and finished in December 2020. It took 500 million lives globally. Now, what he has said is that this pandemic happened at a time when radio waves were implemented globally and it increased electrification of our universe. So I thought, okay, well, I can find out when radio waves became kind of commercial globally, as and when they were rolled out. So I did a bit of research onto the history of radio broadcasting, which is incredibly dull. I don't recommend it. But I mean, if you want to try and corroborate my facts, then please go ahead. But basically in 1886, radio waves were discovered by a German guy called Heinrich Hertz. In 1895, they were developed by an Italian called Macaroni. And then in 1900, they became commercial. So they increased in popularity between 1912 and 1920. So the ones that I could find were like America, the Netherlands, England and Argentina. And those were kind of listed as like the biggest ones or the most popular ones, or I don't really know why they were listed, but those were the ones that came up. But it gives you an idea that they're in the Americas, they're in Europe, they're in South America. So they're kind of dotted around all over the place by 1920. And I think the BBC was kind of like established a couple of years later. But that was quite interesting that the pandemic was between 1918 and 1920, not 2020. I've written that down wrong. And that's when more towers would have been being built and more radio waves were being broadcasted around the world. So interesting, but again, it's not direct proof, but it's an interesting coincidence. The second one that he mentioned was he wasn't too specific about this one, so I had to do a bit of digging. But he said that after World War II had ended, which was in 1945, little fun fact, satellites were sent to the Van Allen belt for radar technology. So I went onto the CDC website to find out if there were any pandemics after 1945, and the one that came up was what they've called the H2N2 virus, which was from 1957 to 1958, and it killed over 1 million people globally. So I went to have a look online to see when the satellites sent up to the Van Allen belt started emitting radar signals. And do you know when it was? It was 1958. So again, interesting correlation there. A third one, the third and final one that he mentions, was in 1968. There was a Hong Kong flu, which the CDC, or which by the way is the Centre for Disease Control and Prevention site, on their past pandemics tab, they have called this the H3N2 virus, and it killed over 1 million people globally. Now, the guy in this whistleblowing video has said that this was the time when they there was another level of satellite penetration in the Van Allen belt, with 150,000 satellites transmitting radar signals into the cosmic field. Now, honestly, I couldn't find anything to corroborate that one, but what I did find at this point was on the CDC website, there was a fourth pandemic on there in 2009 that they have called the H1N1 pandemic, with 60 million cases worldwide and 150,000 deaths. So my little brain was like, sorry, excuse my broken nail, it really hurt. I was like, oh, I wonder when 4G was rolled out. So I got on Google. Guess when it was? Guess when it fucking was? So if the pandemic was in 2009, when do you reckon 4G was rolled out? You got it, 2009. So again, very interesting coincidence. If this pandemic is completely unrelated to 5G being rolled out, but there was a pandemic in 2009 when 4G was rolled out, I'm just saying that maybe this whistleblower should not have had his video removed, that he was protected under whistleblowing laws. He had every right to try and get this information out to the public. Because as far as I'm concerned, he did that from a place of looking after us, and he did it from a place of wanting to protect humanity, whereas these corroborate organisations like YouTube that are trying to shut him up and call it disinformation, the BBC, let's face it, I've never been a fan of mainstream media. I think it's mind control. I think they are now trying to indoctrinate us and force this version of what they want us to believe is the truth. And I mean, I just think it's bullshit, the fact that they are having to remove people that are trying to challenge or question the official version. I think there's definitely more digging needs to be done. So more power to this guy. I wish I knew his name, but I could not find it anywhere on the internet. But yeah, very interesting. Again, I'm not saying that 5G is the cause of corona, so don't remove my video. I'm just saying that the research that I've done to corroborate what he said in his story is very interesting. So yeah, BBC, it's not 5G that's doing this. Okay guys, stay safe and namaste.